Hello everyone, we are here at Absolute Fitness. As you can see, our gym is actually closed. Hardly ever have we ever seen the gym this dark. But of course everybody knows that our gym is closed. But we are going to get started with Jane Watkins. She's going to be doing some information for you, some educational information about a peaceful pandemic. So before we get started, just to make sure that everybody has time to kind of jump on board and the chamber has time to get their watch party started, we're going to just take a little tour through our Mind Body Studio to let you know what it looks like. Hopefully you'll have some questions during the time that Jane's on. We'll be happy to answer those questions, but we want you to see our beautiful studio so that when the gym does open back up, that you will be able to visit us here. So we're going to start. I'm going to kind of just flip the camera around, and there we go. So as you can see, yes, the gym is dark, but normally you will find our Mind Body Studio at the back of the gym. We're just gonna kind of walk through here. Jane is getting ready to talk. As you can see, she's right over here. So right now I just wanted to give you guys a little tour while we're waiting for everybody to jump on board here. So as you're walking through the studio, of course, we have our kind of our little closet here that has, and of course it stays very organized. Our yoga instructors keep everything very nice and neat. So as you can see what all that we have to offer for all of our classes. So if you should decide to come and join us for a yoga class, there is no need to bring anything because we have everything here for you unless you just choose to do so. And so now I'm just going to kind of walk around and give you guys a view of our beautiful studio, the beautiful hardwood floors. This is for our bar class that we have. Katie, I'm sure you guys have seen Katie a lot of times to do that. So while Jane is getting her peaceful mind ready, we're just going to kind of walk around and look at this beautiful studio. It's so peaceful in here. I love just being in here, even if there's not a class going on in our studio. It's just very peaceful. So hi Linda, hi Mike, and Cindy and Tamara. I will tell Jane that you said hello since she can't see this, but I'm going to forward all the information to her. And it is about 2 o'clock. And Jane's kind of getting her lighting set for everything to be very peaceful in here as she gives you some instructions and some information about how to handle this pandemic. Hi Beverly. Several people are saying hello, Jane. I think people are looking forward to this, Jane. They're needing this. So it's right around 2 o'clock. We've got a couple of people on. I'm going to walk over here and just kind of get myself ready so that I can video Jane, make sure that I have. Can everybody hear me okay? Does it seem loud enough? If whoever's watching, can you just let me know if you can hear us okay? And if the lighting is good. Jane is 1 in a million. Yes, she is. We agree. Okay, so Linda says good sound. So that is good so far. Okay, so we sound great. We just want to make sure that everybody's going to be able to hear really well while we're here. Hi Myra. Thanks for watching, guys. Okay, so we have several people jumping on board here, so we're going to be able to start up in just a second. The chamber wanted us to give plenty of time Is there anyone out there from the chamber that can let us know if you're connected up and if we're good to go? April Vice said it's great to see you in the studio, Jane. Okay, so let's see. I think we're good. Hi, Jason. Hi, Brasha. Brasha says good morning. We're saying happy Monday. Okay, so I know that we're all excited to get started because everybody is very interested in hearing what Jane has to say. And as Jane starts to speak, she does have her microphone on. So if you can't hear her clearly, please just send me a little message and let me know, because I can see everyone and what you're saying. So just let me know. We're going to go ahead and get started with Miss Jane Watkins here at the Mind Body Studio at Absolute Fitness on Rainbow Drive.
Namaste and welcome to the Mind Body Studio at Absolute. If you're not in a chair, I would invite you to have a seat in a chair. Look down at your feet and turn your toes straight ahead. Maybe shift in your pelvis so that your knees will be aligned over your ankles. And then feel the sitting bones, these little bones in your bum there, and kind of get grounded into the seat. From there, perhaps draw your hands back, maybe palms up, or maybe at this time, where we are in our lives, ground down and place your palms down. By pulling the arms back, let your shoulders relax down and back. As you lengthen the back of the neck from the crown of the head, maybe tilt your chin slightly forward and down. And then either take your gaze to the tip of the nose, or I would invite you to close your eyes. As you begin to notice your breath, the air that's in the tip of the nostril, breathing in. Perhaps open your mouth and the first couple of breaths out, just to feel that release of tension. And then breathe. Relax, but breathe with awareness. I'm breathing in, and I'm breathing out. Maybe let the belly relax as you fill up below the navel, past the waistline into your chest. And as you open the mouth or through the nose, exhale, feel that release. I'm inhaling, and I know I'm breathing in. I'm exhaling, and I'm aware that I'm breathing out. As you breathe in, breathing in calmness. Breathing out chaos. I'm breathing in just that one thing I'm doing. Breathing in and out. Couple more breaths with sincereness and listening, hearing, and feeling that breath. As you rise a little taller, filling the hips into the chair, gaze and open your eyes downward or open the lids, blinking several times. And then lift your chin. When was the last time that you sat in stillness? When this morning after awakening did you notice I'm breathing in? Perhaps before you started your day, or at least the work part of your day, did you let your spine? Maybe grounding and flexion? And maybe inhaling opening into extension? Because that's what your spine does. Maybe you raised one arm and you leaned over to the side, letting all the muscles in your intercostal rib cage expand. Why? Because you want your lungs to be able to expand. And then the other side, stretching over, taking time to fill up that space. And twisting in your spine, you might want to do a simple twist by taking one hand to one leg opposite and reaching around to the back of the chair, lifting up the spine and turning to where your spine wants to feel that slight twist. And then, of course, the other side. Inhaling and exhaling, twisting. Well, did you know that all that is yoga? What is yoga? Well, it's a system of relaxation, of exercise, and of healing. But in the West, we don't always look at all those aspects. We're generally drawn to the asana, or that part of the poses that interest us, so that we're actually moving. But yoga is really a lot more broad than that. So today, remember, my purpose is to sharing with you how yoga will help you turn this pandemic into more peaceful time, and to take this quarantine that we're in and look at it as a retreat. So I have chosen to take the broad category of yoga and divide it up into fitness, into self-regulation, awareness, and then your life purpose or spirituality. I'm going to start with fitness because, after all, we said that most people come to yoga for the poses, for the physical practice. But let's see how that physical practice can help us be more peaceful at this time and actually feel like we're on a sort of retreat, right? Okay, so fitness. I'm going to invite you to come to the floor, and you can watch or you can go to the floor. Roll on down to your back. And this is a practice that I share with Healthy Spine and all my yoga classes. Sometimes I use it as a warm-up. So as you roll to the floor, using your core a little bit, maybe you're in the bed, and this is going to be our bed routine of what we do before we ever put our feet on the floor. Try to listen instead of lifting your head. That's going to go directly in your neck. So maybe just pretend you've just woken up, your eyes are awake, and you really have a chance to set your attitude here, because generally if we're at home and we don't want to be home, it's going to be negative. So maybe just take a pause, open your eyes, and say, this is my chance to make this pandemic more peaceful. Maybe draw a leg in, holding it under the back of your leg, and just wait. Just wait on that release of your hamstring, which is attached here, maybe your low back. And if you feel like your pelvis is strained too much, just put the opposite leg in your mattress. What a soft place to start your day. And after you feel that release, whatever you feel, stretch that leg out, and let's bring the other one in. Once again, you can always leave your foot in the mattress to tilt your pelvis so that your low back is more stable. And then after you've finished hugging both knees in, think of giving yourself a little love. Bring both of those legs in. And now you're really getting into the low back muscles. You're letting them become more flexible. It doesn't really matter how far your knees come in, but the more flexible you get, your hips will open a little bit, and then you can just bring this right in. Maybe rock side to side after pausing and stimulate the nervous system and bring some blood flow into your back. One more thing, before you leave bed, drop the feet back to the mattress, move your arms away from your body, and then just let your knees fall over to the side. If you need a pillow under your knees, you could do that. I like to really pause here in the morning, if you have time, and we have all the time in the world now, right? So pause a little while, see how this feels into the side body. Not only are you opening the ribs, but you're releasing the back into your first twist of the morning. And then find the feet rolling back over to the mattress and swaying to the other side. Just pause and breathe. The longer you stay, the more your day opens, and the more that bad day has a chance to become a better day, right? Now you have a decision to make. This may be your first decision, or maybe I have to go to the bathroom. That might be my first decision. But let's say you get out of bed now. If you roll out of bed to the left, or the knee direction that your knees are swaying, go ahead and bring the arm over, push yourself up, and just drop your feet right over to the mattress, off the mattress into the floor. So that's a very simple thing that I use and teach to wake up my spine in the morning before my feet ever touch the floor. So in thinking about fitness, we think about flexibility. Yes, we want to be flexible. We want the backs of our legs to be flexible because that releases our back. You can take a chair, or I even go to my kitchen counter in the morning, lay my hands on the counter, and just back up my hips and really stretch the side of my body along the arms, down the ribs. If you can't straighten the legs, just bend your knees, you'll get more of a back stretch. But eventually, maybe those legs will lengthen. I don't know about you, if you do downward dog, we could do it on a chair. But whether you do it on a chair or whether you do it on the floor, your heels may never touch the floor. And if they won't, maybe bend your knees and still feel that same stretch as if you were at your kitchen counter. But maybe the more you practice, those hamstrings will open up as you look forward, just step forward. So flexibility, a very important part of yoga, and actually that's the first part of yoga that people ask me about when I ask them to come. Oh, come to yoga. Oh, I can't do yoga. I'm not flexible. Well, why do you think you come to yoga? So you'll get more flexible. Will your hips ever touch the floor? Well, I don't know. There's a lot involved in that. The position of your bones in your hips, the length of your muscles, your work, what you do as a job. So all of that is indicative of just how much flexibility you get. When you think of strength in yoga, you think of not lifting weights. No, I'm not doing that. But maybe I'm in Warrior Two pose, and I'm staying in this pose until maybe the class is cued to another pose. And I keep breathing sometimes, but I think if you're breathing, that's enough. The question that my students always say is, your breath is longer than mine, but what is this actually doing? It's causing the muscles of your legs, the muscles of your hips, the muscles of your shoulders to stabilize. And that's the kind of strength that we build in yoga. Coordination is another part of fitness, and I like to think of coordination as moving from the front to the back of the mat, or from the back to the front. So that takes a little bit of coordination, right? When you're learning to transition in your poses. Balance is a big one. Are you practicing your balance since you've got all the time in the world? Did you know the National Council on Aging tells us that 1 out of 4 adults over 65, that's me, falls every day? Did you know that every 19 seconds there is a death from falling? So why can't we practice balance? Even as we're brushing our teeth, just shift the weight to one foot. There's your practice right there every day. If you're in yoga, we do practice, and we might come into tree, and we might think, oh, my ankle, it's wobbling so much, I'm gonna have to put my foot on the floor. And so maybe you do. And we'll talk about that at a later time on these umbrellas of yoga. But balance is not only for balancing your body, and the flexibility is not only for getting longer hamstrings, and the strength is not always strengthening the quadricep as you stay in Warrior Two, but all three of those things in this time of our peaceful pandemic are used in the mind as well. The mind becomes flexible. Like, oh, I'm off my schedule. What am I going to do? Well, you're going to find another pathway. Your mind is going to be flexible as your body becomes flexible. The strength of your mind. Can I stay with the task? Can I refrain from screaming at those children because they're not doing their tasks on homework? So strength is very important. The strength that I mentioned in your yoga pose is the strength of stability. And that's what we're looking at during our quarantine retreat. Being stable, not losing it, right? So flexibility, strength, coordination. Are we able to coordinate a new schedule because we're out of our old one? Balance. Do we want to be balanced in mind and body and breath? Because in essence, that really is what yoga is. Some people say yoga is the breath. Some people say it's postures. But balance is the overall thing that we're looking for. The last part of the fitness part of yoga that I want to mention is respiration. And in our opening breath in the chair, we talked about expanding the rib cage so that the lungs could inhale. In thinking about the coronavirus, we know that it directly affects the lungs. And so if we are practicing in our yoga practice, being aware of our breath, being able to feel the inhale, opening up the rib cage with extensions and flexions, then that part of our fitness becomes very important at this time in our lives. I want to let that respiration carry over, however, to the next umbrella that I have chosen for yoga, and that is self-regulation. What does self-regulation have to do with yoga? There are two aspects I want to mention, and the first one is stress. Who is not under stress right now? I don't see any hands up, right? So stress will kill you. You know, I taught biology and anatomy for 30 years almost, 29, and stress virtually affects every part of your body. It affects all your organs, it affects every system in your body, and eventually it can kill you. So what do we do to handle stress? Well, how did that go for you in the chair of breathing? How did you feel afterwards? Or were you in the chair saying, oh, I don't think I'm doing this right. No, get over it. Come back to your breath. Maybe you were in the chair and said, I just don't like this. Well, I'm saying in this time of day, get over it and come back to your breath. Because the breath is going to carry you into a different part of your nervous system. You know, I was a hamster on a wheel. Gary might say I still am moving a little bit fast. However, stress, we get in this rut. And you were in it, I was in it before any of this happened, right? That hamster was turning on that wheel. We had our agenda, we had our to-do list, we had our tasks that have to be completed at home. We had to get the children here and there. So we're always under stress. What a peaceful retreat time to learn how to breathe and change your nervous system from the fight or flight, which we were given. If a tiger comes in this room, and preferably it's a warning, oh tiger. If the tiger comes in the room, we're getting out of the room as fast as we can. We were given that ability for our nervous system to be hyped up. The adrenaline starts flowing, and we feel strength that we never felt before to get out of the room. But how often are you in the opposite of that, the rest and digest mode? That is your parasympathetic nervous system. And in yoga, we come into that, such as our beginning breathing. We also come back into it through class if we're breathing in the posture and not letting our mind wander to, oh, I really like her toenails. I love that color. No, get over it. Come back to your breath in your posture and let those muscles stabilize you there so you will be stronger, right? So when you think about stress, you also can tie this to self-regulating the emotional body. This is quite interesting because here we are at home. You have to remember that, or my students remember that, I was at home 8 weeks before the quarantine. Why? Because I had shoulder surgery. still working on my shoulder. So all of a sudden, I was not at Absolute Gym for the 8 or 9 classes I teach a week. I wasn't there for the 20 clients I work with every week. I was home in Gary's space, right? So we're all there now. We're in everybody in our home's space. How's that going? Yeah, how's that going? So if you took a list, I would invite you to take a pad of paper on your counter, and one day, choose one day, I'm going to record every emotion that comes to my mind. There's going to be a gamut of emotions, and I dare say they're not always going to be at the positive end of the scale, right? So we learn to ride this emotional roller coaster in yoga. You know why? Because if you're in tree and you suddenly don't balance, maybe you're one of those that have to come here and I have to show off, and so then you fall, and then what happens to your countenance? What happens to your emotions? I should have nailed that. I am so angry because I fell out of that pose and everybody in the room saw me, right? So emotions are like a roller coaster. But the thing is, we're not our emotions. Sometimes I ask people, when you have that emotion of anger or fear especially this time, right? Where did it go? Where did that emotion go? Sometimes I think we feel like when we release the emotion that it goes out there into the iCloud. No, it really doesn't. Did you know it takes root in your body at different places? So if you study Chinese medicine, you would realize that we have all these channels all through our body. And the pose that I think exemplifies this best is a pose that we call Pigeon Pose. And certainly, if you have a knee issue, you're not going to do it like this. You're going to roll over to your back, cross your leg, and then with the spine on the floor, maybe reach through this leg that's extending and pull that a little closer, depending on what you want to feel in your hip. But nevertheless, when we're in Pigeon Pose, some people stay upright, some people walk forward, some people rest to the floor. And this, I would say, is a pose that works directly on your emotions, because the channels of anger, frustration, depression, they all run through your hips. So when you're in that Pigeon Pose or letter 4 pose, if you could do this seated, you're feeling the release of the side of your hip. We think about physiologically being related to back pain, because it can certainly cause back pain if the muscles that hold to the side of your hip are too tight. But in Pigeon Pose or in letter 4 pose, we always feel better when we come out of it. And I always tell the students, now when you go home, don't sign anything that's going to be a contract, because you may regret it, because you're going to feel so good. Don't tell them you're going to marry him unless you really mean it, right? So get in your Pigeon Pose. It helps your emotional body tremendously. So emotions, self-regulations. Can you regulate your emotions? Well, you can practice yoga, which has a lot to do with that. The last 3 are very much connected, and they are resilience, bouncing back. How long did it take you to bounce back from falling out of a posture? How long did it take you to bounce back after yelling at your husband yesterday because he was doing something that you really didn't like, and if you hadn't been there, you wouldn't have known, right? So, resilience, bouncing back. And in yoga, we take what we learn on the mat, off the mat. So all that we see as failures on the mat, they almost provide a bouncing back place, because I dare say when you come back to your mat the next practice, you probably won't remember falling out of that posture. So we gain resilience through yoga. The next 2 are very related. They are equanimity and self-efficacy. And they both deal with finding calm in tension. Finding calm in tension. So if you were in a posture such as half moon standing, there's going to be a little tension there in your leg, and as you open your hip, and as you balance, shaking, 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 and as you raise your hand, and then maybe you can turn your head, there's going to be a lot of that in yoga? Do you come out of the posture and give yourself kindness? Do you just hold it until you fall? Do you grit your teeth and say, I'm doing it, I don't care what? So yoga can be used to learn how you get through the channels of frustration and tension, especially in this time. Okay, moving on to awareness. I'm going to do a little shavasana with you and talk about awareness. If we could say meditation, but there's so many steps before you get to meditation. The first step is you have to be aware. You have to draw your attention to that particular thing that you're going to focus on. This is very interesting, awareness. I do classes on mindfulness, and awareness just means first you draw the attention there. It doesn't necessarily mean you're mindful, because probably your attention doesn't stay there. But if you can keep your attention there, that becomes a mindful practice. For example, maybe this week, before the week is over, pick out something like, in the morning, I'm brewing my coffee. Or maybe I'm brewing my tea. And without letting your mind escape, I didn't say it was easy, but from the moment you pick up the utensils that are going to be used to do that, before you ever select how much coffee or how many tea bags or what kind, make it a travel in mindfulness, because that's a journey. It's very hard. Even in making the bed, from the very first time you pull up the sheet until you smooth the bed, have all things in place on the bed. Mindfulness is very hard, but that would be the next step. And I'm going to travel through with you a little shavasana and talk about these things. Next, you might move to concentration and cognition. And here, I want to mention about multitasking. That's a biggie. For years, I prided myself on being able to do 10 things at the same time. I have a to-do list every day. They've gotten better. Used to be really, really long. And so, as you go through that to-do list, your mind is traveling in, oh, what am I going to do first? I list mine in order. I like to check them off. That's, how bad I am. But nevertheless, if you're traveling through that list, or if you're trying to concentrate, did you know that when I do these sessions on mindfulness, there are studies that have been done in England that show if you are multitasking, you usually can lose 40% of your cognitive skill. Wow, that's kind of scary. And you know why? Because when you're multitasking, you'll never finish one task till it is complete and full and whole. So if we practice doing one thing at a time, you may say, oh, but I don't have time. Statistics show us that if we're multitasking, how many times have you had to go back and repeat something because you skipped a step or you messed it up? So in the long run, I'm just saying, mindfulness can be very important in not only your cognition skills, but your concentration. And even more than that, this is what I've learned about mindfulness. And I work on it every day. I'm not saying I'm anywhere beyond where you are. If you become mindful, you suddenly begin to think before speaking. Man, how many times, because you could have gotten out of hot water so many times. Mindfulness, I'm going to think before I speak. That is mindfulness. What about, I'm going to think before I pick up the fork? Oh my, a big one in the quarantine retreat. We're retreating into smorgasbords every day. We're loving it, right? But when Absolute opens again and we start looking around and look at ourselves in the mirror, we're going to say, I wish I had been more mindful before I picked that up and put it in my mouth. And we could even go back further, because if you hadn't put it in your grocery cart, you wouldn't be putting it in your mouth. So mindfulness, it incorporates life, and it can make a big difference difference in the person you are. Is what you say, what you do, what you eat. That's all having to do with mindfulness. And then way down here would be meditation. What we call samadhi is finding bliss. And sometimes in shavasana, when we're lying on the floor, suddenly we feel so blissful. And sometimes we get up off our mat, put our materials up, and we have to think, oh, let's see, where am I going next? Because we feel so good. So I would invite you to go to the floor. I'm going to talk you through this, but don't raise your head and look at me because you won't be in Shavasana. So make your way to the floor. You can also do this in a chair. You could also support yourself if you have low back issues. I don't have I guess I do have my blanket, but I don't have my bolster. But you could take a blanket or a pillow and you could put it under the thighs a little bit. And then just move your arms out. You know, a lot of times my students are like this, which is okay. You can take a hand to the heart or to the belly. But some of my young students, they don't want to open up. And that comes with time. So just do what's good for you. And just lie yourself or sit yourself down in a comfortable position. And let's talk about how we would begin this relaxation. You can do this at home. There are plenty of sites on your phones and iPads to go to for what I call yoga nidra, which is yoga sleep, which is shavasana. And in my class, I practice shavasana every time because most people, when they hit the store on Monday night or Friday morning or Thursday night or Tuesday, Thursday morning, they're coming in here with a lot of baggage because we all have it. And we need to take the time not to lie on the floor, but to practice shavasana, practice releasing, practice letting go. Because if we had been doing that, it might be a little easier in this peaceful, more peaceful pandemic that perhaps we're not experiencing, right? It's a time of physical distancing, as my mentor says, but it's not social distancing. So I would, we need to reach out to people, but yet we're physically distancing. So go to the floor sometime every day. So if you're there already, make yourself comfortable, wiggle around a little bit, and then purpose, I'm not going to move for 30 seconds. And then relax your big toe. Take your mind to your big toe. And I'm relaxing my big toe. Relax the front of your right foot. Relax the right ankle. Be mindful of all the steps you took today and release them all from the right foot. Relax the right knee. Relax the right hip, the right shoulder, the right elbow, the right hand. And then breathe out through the whole right side of your body. I'm relaxing my left little toe. I'm relaxing the heel of my left foot. I'm relaxing my left calf, the front of my left thigh, the buttock of the left side. I'm relaxing the ribs on the left side of my body, the shoulder blade behind my back, my elbow, my fingers of the left hand. And then breathe out through the whole left side of your body. Come back to the heart and relax the back of your neck, the back of the head. Reach the breath over the head to your forehead and soften the fur between your eyebrows. Relax the jaw and the tongue. And then maybe repeat, I'm breathing in, and I'm aware that I'm breathing in. I'm breathing out, and I know I'm exhaling. As the heaviness sets in, we would go a lot longer than this, but we are on a little journey here that's shortened. So begin to move or wiggle your fingers and your toes. Draw your knees back into your chest like you did in bed this morning. And rock and roll over to one side as you come upright. I wrote down a few things that I have noticed through the years about my yoga practice and the comments that I get from my students and the participants in the classes. So the simple perspective that I have made throughout all the years of doing yoga is that number one, yoga makes you feel good. It makes you strong. It may make you flexible. But guarantee you're going to feel better when you leave class than before when you came. So that's one of the perspectives that I see. Secondly, life moves more easily, more smoothly when you maintain a regular yoga practice. I'm going to say that again. Life moves more smoothly when you have a yoga practice. For some of you, that may mean that you're coming to class once a week. Some of you come twice. Some of you come to all the classes. What if you just had that little bed routine in the morning? What if you were just seated in a chair every day sometime and you began to move your spine? I think that's called a home practice. Yeah, people, I don't have time to do yoga at home. Yeah, yoga is a practice. And when we think about stability in the posture or awareness in the mind or regulating your emotions, that comes from the stability of a practice of yoga. That discipline that in the morning calls you to that. Like healthy spine, they have to get here at 8 o'clock. They hear my voice when their alarm goes off. I gotta go to healthy spine, right? We need a practice, and whether that means it's 10 minutes or whether it means you come to class 3 times a week, a home practice, a practice of yoga is going to include all of these things we've talked about. They don't come immediately, but as we progress through the physical part of yoga, all this becomes evident. And that leads me to our last thing, which on my chart I put spirituality, but some people will be more comfortable in saying my life's purpose. Why am I here? You know, irregardless of your religion, you have a spirit. And sometimes we tap on that in Shavasana when everything is still, everything is quiet, we hear our breath, we feel kind of good because we've completed the practice. And then it suddenly occurs to us, I'm bigger than this. There's something else. Why am I here? Not that we qualm over it, but it rises up. So, through the practice of yoga, we begin to feel for a flow. Life is a little bit easier. I'm mindful of other people. I feel like I'm here for a purpose. And if you don't know your purpose, I would strongly suggest taking some time to sit down and discover something about you that would lead you to something you really love. Let it be, as in yoga, we call your dharma. And mine is teaching. I taught school for years and years, and now I'm teaching yoga for years and years. I went on and got my yoga therapy. Now I'm helping people through issues in their tissues. Find what brings you joy. Find what makes a difference so that when we're no longer here, there's that print, there's that imprint that's left behind. So you can find that in many ways, but you can connect the dots through all we've talked about, and it's present in yoga. So I would invite you to get our schedule when we open back up, and I hope you're doing our virtual classes at home with all of our instructors. We've had great classes in almost every aspect of what we teach here. I haven't done a lot of yoga classes because I was recovering from my surgery, but I promise if this continues that I will get out there and do it for you, because I can talk you through it, right? I don't have to necessarily demonstrate. I hope you've learned something that will appeal to you. If you need to contact me at any time or in any place, by email, by phone, you can get that probably off of our website. the chamber, I can give them that information. So when everything is back to the new normal, I didn't say normal, because it is my prayer that you will not go back to the hamster on the wheel. That you will have taken this time to choose what you want to put back on your shoulders in your new time frame that we will all go through. And as you do that, purpose that you're going to visit us, purpose that you're going to do a class. You could go to gentle yoga, you could go to healthy spine, which is basically the gentle yoga. You could do our vinyasa classes on Monday and Friday morning where you move a little bit more with fire. You can do Pilates, which is also a mind-body exercise to bring you inside the body. What's going on? Where's my breath? But I'm inviting you, and I hope that you'll take up on that for me. And I just appreciate your being here. Are there any questions?
Yes, Jane, there has been a couple of questions, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of flip back through these.
Okay.
First of all, let me say lots of nice messages of we miss you. We miss you, Carrie, and somebody, April Vi, said, if you're enjoying Janie's presentation, you will love her classes. So there's been, and we'll look back through all these, lots and lots of really nice things here. But I noticed a couple of the questions, and I'll just say this, that you were talking about when you wake up in the morning, things that you could do for home practice. That's been one of the main things that you taught me was before you even wake up in the morning to do your stretches and before you go to bed to help you sleep.
Yes.
So I know that there are certain things that you teach that for, most people it may help over another. But a couple of the questions was been during this pandemic, if there's one thing that you could suggest if people are feeling, that haven't done yoga before and maybe feeling a little overwhelmed and trying to take all that in, if there's one thing that you could suggest for them to do at home, what would that be?
I would pause in my chair and I would take 3 breaths mindfully. And if it doesn't happen the first day and it doesn't happen the last day, if you keep practicing it, it will happen. Breath does more. Out of this whole presentation, breath can change life. And especially during the pandemic, because we worry about the virus effects on the lungs. So teach yourself to be mindful about your breath. When we breathe, the nervous system changes, and we learn to breathe deeper and slower. Not necessarily, in fact, this is proven, you're not really going to expand your lung capacity as much as you're going to learn in calmness to fill up as much air as your body needs. So I would really, I think that above anything else, if you're not thinking, I want to be a yogi, I hate to tell you this, but if you're breathing, you're doing yoga. But I would definitely pause. It's in the pause. The pause is in everything. And if you can just pause and be mindful of your breath, it will change your mindset, it will change your body, and you're doing yoga.
Okay, so another question. If someone were to be a new student and start to Absolute Fitness that hasn't been here before and they wanted to try yoga, what would you think? And of course, most everybody is a little nervous about starting. So what would you suggest would be the first thing for them to do?
Well, this is my opinion. Because I know how I teach and because I know how Elizabeth and Jane teach, I would come to any class. Because chances are you're going to look at the time schedule, what works for you. And don't let that deter you from coming, because we all teach what we call regressions. I might start here, but someone that's been doing yoga with me for 17 years in Monday Night Yoga, that might be doing it completely different. And remember, let's back up. That is what yoga is. It's for your body. And until you come and until you practice, until you learn what your body will do and feels good doing, then, that's where you're going to start. Healthy Spine is real good about that because we always start with regressions, and most everybody in there has issues in their tissues. I have knee replacements, hip replacements, now I have a shoulder surgery. All kinds of problems in there are issues that were issues until they started moving and doing yoga. And the good thing about Healthy Spine is everybody is kind of doing their own thing because of the issues in their tissues. So I would highly recommend any of our classes but also healthy's fine.
And so some people will start taking these classes, they wait until they do have an issue and they're thinking, oh, I need yoga. So when they really need to be starting when they're much younger.
Yesterday, the day before. But true, I get a lot of clients through yoga therapy because of issues that are happening in their body. And they don't have to be physical. I have panic attack clients. I have clients with pelvic floor. Lots of different issues in our tissues. But yeah, the time to start yoga is any time, any day.
And you've even seen when children start yoga, how much of it,
awesome.
how much of a difference that it can make in
and
children.
I hope you'll go on our Facebook and look at my clip of Adriano. I think we transferred it over to Fitness's page. But the 12-year-old practices with me and his parents 5:30 a.m. on Wednesday morning, and he loves yoga. And yeah, he's destined to teach. He's going to be my assistant one day, right? And then he'll become the teacher when I'm old.
So how many classes, like once someone starts yoga, say they're having flexibility issues, once they start yoga, what would you say would be an estimated time for them to give themselves before they really start feeling a lot more flexible?
I wouldn't even go there. You're going to feel more flexible the first time you finish a yoga class. That's probably not going to be the end range of what you're going to gain. But going back to what I said, your feet may never be on the floor in downward dog. I just know, like I said in the perspectives that I've made, you're going to feel different. And your hamstrings are going to feel different. So it is a practice. If you choose to come to class, or if you do that additional step and get on the floor and stretch your hamstrings every day, then all of that is yoga and all of that is going to help.
And as we said, I believe at the beginning of this, some people want to know, okay, so I'm new and I don't have any equipment. Do I need to bring anything to class?
Okay, I think Teresa moved into our storage room there, and we have everything. We have blocks, we have straps, we have blankets, we have mats, and we have bolsters, which are these large pillows that I use a lot to help you in back bending or to protect you in shavasana from spinal issues. So we have just about everything you would need. In privates, I have more stuff than this, more props than all this that I use to help people through that range of motion or with any issue that they're dealing with.
Okay, so I think from what we've gathered from pretty much what you've said through the whole thing, the peaceful pandemic really rests a lot in breathing.
Definitely.
And finding that time to themselves.
Find that inner time, even if it's 2 or 3 minutes. Get on the floor. The postures that we did, like a pigeon where we were into the hip, releasing not only the hip physically, but releasing a lot of emotion there. And it's just like we said, when you come in the door for class, you generally always feel better on the way out. That is a release, and that's what we're looking for in this time. You can find that release in other things that you do, but even in other sports or even in other types of fitness, it's not always that you get a chance to tap into the parasympathetic nervous system where you actually turn off that fight and flight. And in this pandemic, this peacefuler, hopefully pandemic, and in this quarantine retreat, that is what we're looking for. Give yourself some downtime. Not just go to sleep, not just lie down and read a book. Turn off the mind. Turn off everything so that the nervous system can get that mode of rest and digest.
Okay, I think it looks like we are possibly at the end of our time. So we would like to say thank you so much for joining Jane Watkins here at our Mind Body Studio at Absolute Fitness. Thank you to the Chamber for having us also on their watch party there. Thank you to everyone who has joined us today, who's all of their great comments and questions. And you can find us at absolutefitnessgym.com. You can follow Janie Watkins on her Facebook page if you have any additional questions questions. She will always post what classes that she has here at Absolute Fitness. And of course, you can always follow the Facebook page at Absolute Fitness, and that would be all of our information about all of our classes, including Jane or any other instructors that we have. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Heather. Heather News said, "Great job, Jane. We appreciate you." And Heather, I know. Heather, that was an invite. And thank you to the Chamber for all that they do and for their staff. They have really kept us informed through this entire pandemic. We feel like they have done a fantastic job. And thank you to all of Janie's students who have tuned in today too to watch. We appreciate you, and namaste.